The North and the South, and let's look at the North. Our buddy Bo Pelini's at Nebraska. Is he bringing that program back just in time to enter the Big Ten next season?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and a lot of folks say, well, Ndamukong Suh is gone, so the defense is not going to be as good. And I'll make this point. Let's say the defense is a touchdown worse than last year because of the loss of Suh. Well, they allowed 10 points per game last year. That means they allow 17 points per game this year. That's still a top 10 defense, which they have. You look at it, Jared Crick on the defensive line. They got Ama Kamara at the cornerback spot. They've got a loaded defense. Not as good as last year. 10 points per game is pretty good, but defensively they're still top 10. Now, offensively, like North Carolina, they were poor on offense last year. They had a game against Texas, I think, where they had 5 first downs. They had a game against Nebraska where they had 7 first downs. They really struggled on the offense last year, but taking a look at the first downs, 7 against Oklahoma, 5 against Texas, 11 against Baylor. But now they've got 2 veteran quarterbacks. They got 9 returning starters on offense. They'll be stronger on that side of the ball. They've got number 8 rated special teams. I think when you look at Nebraska, they're not only my clear-cut favorite to win the Big 12 North, but when I go through the game, after I write the magazine, send it off to the press, I go through every game for the upcoming season. I look at the situation, as one team off a bye or not. I look at the past history of their meetings. I look at how the offensive lines match up against the defensive lines, and I come up with my personal favorites for every game. I have Nebraska favored in all 12 games this year, so wouldn't that be something if you had a 12-0 Nebraska against a 12-0?
You've got them favored over Texas.
At home, yes, because, you know, with Texas, what they're doing is they're switching the offense. They're going from the spread option, which they had never won the title, and then all of a sudden when they bring Vince Young in, run the spread option offense, then Colt McCoy kept it going. Remember, Colt McCoy was their leading rusher 2 years ago. It was their number 2 rusher last year. Their top running back had 300 yards rushing 2 years ago, 500 last year. Now they need a running back to rush for 1,000 yards. They haven't really been able to establish a running back out of the backfield. They're switching from the spread option to the pro-style attack. I think that's going to make them less effective on offense. And there's a certain team in the Big 12 South who I feel pretty good about. I'll talk about them in a minute.
We'll get to them in a minute. Is there anybody in the North that can challenge Nebraska? Or are they all down?
The only one that I would put there with the possibility is Missouri. When I looked at Missouri last year, they only had 9 or 10 returning starters, and I thought they're going to be fortunate to get 6 wins this year, get to a bowl. Well, they did better. They got 8 wins, I believe, last year. So they played better than I expected, and the key was their quarterback, Blaine Gabbert. Gabbert was having a fine season. You know, he's a big kid. And he goes out there against Nebraska in the second quarter, and he injured his ankle. Well, the rest of the game, he struggled, and his stats went down. The next 2 weeks, Texas, Oklahoma State, he was hobbling around the field and completed less than 50% of his passes. But then he came back in the second half of the year, was solid. He was a first-year starter last year. He's a very dangerous quarterback. Now, I was not impressed with him in the bowl game. They played Navy. Navy was rushing 2 players, dropping back 9, and Gabbert just looked confused on the field. I was very surprised at Missouri's offensive production in the bowl game. But they're a lot more veteran team this year. They've got almost twice the amount of returning starters as they had last year. I think they're the clear-cut number 2 team in the North. And then you've got the other 4 teams in the North sort of battling it out for 3rd place.
So, bottom line, Pelini's got the Big Red coming back to the Big Red of the old days, and just in time after this season to enter the Big Ten next season. We're going to take a look at the Big 12 South. And then, still to come, the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. Phil Steele and PhilSteele.com. The publications are out.